The verdict goes on to second-degree murder, and of course that would mean if there's a not guilty as to second-degree murder that Scott Peterson is not guilty as a...
From hearing the verdict in Scott Peterson's murder trial, there will be a live audio feed. We're going to take it right now. Okay, I'm hearing that we are waiting for the live audio feed, and let me tell you a little emotion from Scott Peterson.
There's a verdict in this case, is that correct?
Yeah.
Will you hand the verdicts to Janae, please?
California versus Scott Peterson. We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Scott Lee Peterson, guilty of the crime of murder of Lacey Denise Peterson in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, as alleged in Count 1 of the information filed herein. Dated November 12, year 2004, foreperson number 6.
Mr. Foreperson, is that unanimous verdict of the jury with respect to Count 1?
It is, Your Honor.
Agreed.
We, the jury, further find the degree of the murder to be that of the first degree. Debated November 12, 2004, foreperson number 6.
And juror number 6, is that the unanimous verdict of the jury with respect to the degree?
It is, Your Honor.
I want to read Count 2.
We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Scott Lee Peterson, guilty of the crime of murder of baby Connor Peterson in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, as alleged in Count 2 of the information filed herein. Dated November 12, 2004.
Penalty. This jury deliberated for about 43 hours, over 7 days before reaching this verdict. And I'll tell you, to many here, it was a surprise that they reached a unanimous verdict at all. 2 jurors dismissed during the deliberation process. That is very unusual. There were signs of jury chaos. There were indications that this jury was not getting along. And yet, after the last juror was dismissed, the jury foreperson on Wednesday, they didn't deliberate yet.
California. Let's turn to attorney Roy Black now. He's an NBC News legal analyst. Roy, you predicted a Friday verdict earlier on the Today Show. Was the replacement of the 2 jurors, do you believe, key in allowing this deliberation to come forward with this result?
Oh, Lester, there's no doubt about that. The jury foreman was a lawyer and a doctor who had taken copious notes.
Again, recapping from California, the jury announcing in the Scott Peterson trial, finding him guilty of first-degree murder in the murder of his wife, Lacey, second-degree murder in the killing of his unborn son, Connor. And again, the penalty phase begins November 22nd. We'll have more on all this in a special broadcast of Dateline tonight, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, and of course on NBC Nightly News, continuing coverage right now on MSNBC on cable and the internet. I'm Lester Holt, NBC News, New York.
Scott Peterson murdered his wife, Lacey, planned it, thought about it, did it for...
Has been read, and Scott Peterson has been found guilty of first-degree murder. Here's how it...
Conviction of Scott Peterson found guilty for the premeditated killing of his wife, Lacey. This jury also finding him guilty of second-degree murder for the killing of his unborn son, Connor. Scott Peterson now faces the possibility of death. There will be a separate...
Well, the reaction outside the courtroom was cheering. People out here, as we discussed leading up to the verdict, most folks in the court of public opinion think that Scott Peterson is guilty of killing his wife. When the jury verdict was read, they outwardly cheered, and it was very loud. And
I have sat in on those, again, no cameras in there, are heart-rending testimonials to be given. That is really Mark Garrigus' main concern now, is to try and save his client's life. And there has been a lot of speculation about what evidence he will put on, but his main focus will likely be the fact that this is Scott Peterson's first offense and that he does not deserve to die. And these same 12 jurors, the very same 12, will not be sequestered. They will go home. They're not going to be talking to the media, and they'll come back here a week from Monday to begin deliberating Scott Peterson's fate, life or death.
And what we're waiting for now is for our eyes and ears in the courtroom to come out and talk to us. Greta Van Susteren was there. She sent us some dispatches. We'll listen to this. There seems to be some excitement over the verdict there, Trace.
There is
Claudia
some, Shepard, and I got to tell you.
I hadn't heard from Claudia Cowan yet. I want to hear from her, too. Greta Van Susteren is going to come out and give us firsthand. Claudia, your thoughts?
Shep, let me tell you that we have several hundred people out here in front of the courthouse. When the verdict was announced, they got the word from those of us in the media, and an eruption went up. A loud cheer went up when the word was announced that Scott Peterson had been found guilty. Just a minute ago, the district attorney, Jim Brazelton from Stanislaus County, left.
He learned that Scott Peterson had been convicted of first-degree murder, now facing the possibility of the death penalty. Karen Russell
and the Petersons, Lee and Jackie, have indicated they will have something to say either way here. If Scott is found guilty, now that he's been found guilty, we're told that they're going to have something to say anyway, so some family reaction. Let's watch as people come out the door there. And one other thing I wanted to explore now, and maybe we can do this with Craig Mitnick. Craig, in the penalty phase, there's the possibility, I guess, if not probably, but is expected to do most of the talking. Members of the prosecution are reported to be inclined not to speak. Not so surprising.
Momentum in October, despite a big drop in auto sales. That has led some renewed optimism for the holiday shopping season.
There are 3 or 4 of her friends, of course, her father, her mother, her stepfather, her brother, her sister, all sitting in the front row. The Petersons were there, but Lee Peterson was noticeably missing. Scott Peterson's father, also defense attorney Mark Garrigus, was not in the room. Apparently he is down in Southern California attending to some kind of business or on some other cases. But when they came into the room and announced that verdict, immediately the side of the room with the Rocha family, Laci Peterson's family and friends, erupted into tears and just cries of relief. The Petersons, very somber, very stoic. Scott Peterson had been smiling and laughing and that sort of thing, seeming very confident before the verdict came in. Once that verdict was in, he was straight ahead. He didn't look to either side. I think what you're hearing now are some
Lori Allred is.
Of course, that Mark Garrigus, the lead defense attorney, did not make it back in time for the verdict. He sat there with Mr. Harris, of course, the other the defense counsel on this case. But we did hear very audible yelps, in fact, some cries from the Rocha's family, of course.
That's
Laci
Peterson's
family. Gasping when the first count was read, guilty, first-degree murder. Completely emotional during the course of those readings.
And how about the Peterson family, Scott Peterson's family? Did you see anything from them?
What was interesting is I could not see whether or not Scott Peterson's father was there. I did not see him. As a matter of fact, other journalists who I happened to be sitting with did not see him as well. It may be that there was just too much pressure here for him to come into the courthouse. You could have cut the tension with a knife. It was that intense. The mother was there, of course, and as you know, that she has a breathing apparatus that helps her get some oxygen. I could not see her from where I was.